The Garnet and Old show, no inside info, no contacts, no problem. The fan run and fan supported show. I'm Ryan. That's Vince. How are you, my friend? Celebrating opening day MLB, I see.
I am celebrating opening day. However, the Phillies are not playing today. It's bad weather. Phillies are taking on the Braves, and they had to postpone the game today. So they'll be playing tomorrow, I think, at 3:05. And I'm one of those fans, by the way, Ryan, that I love my team. But for baseball, for me, is kind of casual in and out throughout the season. And then once it starts to get close to the playoffs, it really starts to hit home. But as part of the old part, Ryan, Mike Schmidt is my all-time favorite player and the greatest third baseman to ever play the game.
Awesome. And hey, listen, it's a lot worse things that you could do than head to celebrate the first day of the Major League Baseball season. I'm going to give people a quick rundown of kind of setting the expectations for the show and go through some ways that people can win something this show. So I know all of you are looking forward to Doug Rohan being on the show. He is going to be on the show today. He's going to be on the back half of the hour show. So sometime between 7:30 Eastern and 8 o'clock Eastern, he's going to join the show. And
that's what you call prior commitments.
Yeah, prior commitments, but he's going to come on. And we're going to give him a full segment. He's going to go through all the updates on the latest of the ACC versus FSU. Even a little bit of Clemson dabbled in there. Update. So he is going to be on the show. Stay tuned for that. But Vince, before we get into some banter, and I do have some questions for you. Tonight is a really exciting night because we're going to give away, because we reached 1,000 subscribers
last Thursday,
way early.
Or Friday.
Yeah, it was last week, last Friday, I think we came on. Thank you, everyone, by the way, for helping us achieve such a big monumental achievement of getting to 1,000. As we go on our march to 2,000, and guess what? We got some more announcements around that later. But now that we're at 1,000, we're going to be giving away a copy of EA Sports College Football 25. Now, the game is not out yet, so I don't have a copy to give you today. But whoever wins tonight, I will have your information. We will communicate, and then when the game is about to come out, we will schedule and get with you guys about who's going to get it and how we're going to get it to you. But Vince, how do they win?
Hold on. Let me chime in here. Ryan originally stated that we were going to give away a copy of the game when we hit the 1,000 mark, but he couldn't wait until the Thursday show.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, being the big-hearted, good-hearted guy that he is, he gave away an additional copy, a pre-copy, last week. And we know that the big winner from last week is actually watching this show right now. So that's a shout out to MN for winning the copy of the game last week. But Ryan, coming to the table with another copy for tonight. And in order to win that copy tonight, all you need to do is pop that hashtag into the comments.
In YouTube.
Yeah, I think so. It could be all of them, though.
Yeah, technically we could pull from any of them, right? So if you pop that hashtag, work it out.
Just to be safe, go over to YouTube, pop that into the comments, and then StreamYard allows us to do this really slick random pull of anybody that's commented hashtag 1000GNO. And at the end of the show, we're going to give away another copy of College Football 25. And like Ryan said, it's not out yet. So you're not going to get it right away, but you'll get it soon. You'll get it soon enough. And I just saw that MN said he's a Braves fan. I got a lot of Braves fans in my life. I really do. And because of where we live. So I get it. Baseball's a long season. It's not like the hatred in the football realm, right? So I appreciate that.
Now, we always like to give people a little bit of time to trickle in. Usually the first 5-10 minutes of the show, like to give people a chance to join before we get into the topics du jour. So Vince, I want an update from you. For those of you who don't know, Vince has been for my recommendation, watching Lost. Vince, are you any further along than 7 episodes?
I am not.
Shame. 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 That's what I got to say to you, Vince. You got to keep
Yeah.
going. What are we doing?
You know, I apologize for not being ready for that. And by the way, Young Seminole, you've got the wrong hashtag there. You need to fix that. You need to use a lowercase n.
He did. He got it.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, he fixed it.
Okay, good.
Look at that. Boom.
Beautiful. Because I want everybody to have an equal opportunity to win. Yeah, I haven't, Ryan, and I'm no farther along with that, so I apologize. But I am all in. I don't want to pretend like I'm not all in. And by the way, this jersey is getting warm, so I'm gonna take this off. I have shirts on underneath. This is not one of those shows.
That's a different page. That's a different subscription that Vince has.
It's a different subscription. But I'm going to remove this gear for now because it is kind of warm.
You know what, though, Vince? Leave the hat on.
I'm going to go double duty.
Yeah.
You think? Nah, yeah. I don't. I got to wear my hat, dude.
There you go. That was a professional switch, by the way. That was professional.
That's right.
Those of us not blessed with hair have to do the quick switch,
Yeah. I have hair. It's just not anything to speak of.
Hey, listen, I want to say welcome to Douglas Zikafus. He said, "What's up? Welcome to the show, man."
Every week. He's on every week. Love it.
For those of you that just joined, again, just a quick update. Doug will be on the show probably within the next after about 30, 40 minutes. So stay tuned. He's going to go on the show and he's going to give us all the updates about the law stuff. So we're going to start with a few other topics before we get started. And Vince, being that 2,000 subscribers is our next goal, because listen, we could say, hey, we made it to 1,000 and just no, we're about to climb 1% better every day, just like Norvell says. And if we make it to 2,000 subscribers before EA Sports College Football 25 comes out,
hold on to your hats, people.
I'm going to give away a copy of the game for sure.
Another copy of the game.
But it's going to come with either a PS5 or Xbox Series X, your choice. So help us get to 2,000 subscribers, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if we reach that before the game comes out, we're going to give away a console with the game. That's what we do around here.
How do you get us to that point? If you're already subscribed, just share it out.
You have to tell your friends.
Just share it out. I mean, that's all you really got to do. And, if you want to strong arm them a little bit, I'm Italian.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. You can guilt people into subscribing.
You don't want to give Vince agita. You don't want to do it. And
I have it often.
If someone's like, hey, enough with trying to tell me about your podcast, you just tell them, hey, stand down. Stand down. Okay.
That's right. So that's what we're going to do. If we hit 2,000, I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Sure. And with the viewership we have thus far, I don't doubt that it's going to happen. Just people sharing it out. I've been it's humbled me to know how many people have told me that they've shared it out. So we really appreciate that. Moving on after the commercial here, right?
Real quick, for people who are going to want to hear what Doug has to say, two things. Put your comments and questions that you would like us to ask Doug when he joins the show later tonight. And if you want your question to be put up on the screen, featured for the show, you can use the super chat function, and we will actually make that a segment and have Doug actually answer your question directly as part of a feature of the show. But if you want things that you want us to ask him, feel free to pop them in the chat and start building those up now before Doug joins.
Absolutely. Quick house cleaning, other things. Happy birthday, A.D. Alford. We have to say that, right? The guy has, I mean, he's changed. He's changed my perception of the leadership of this program, of this university, the athletics. So happy birthday. That was yesterday, 2 days ago.
From Afghanistan.
I just want to say that. So we got to get that out there, right? All right. So that's enough, I think, of the banter. We've gotten enough people in here now, Ryan, you think?
I think we got enough people.
It's all on you. Cheers.
All right. I want to go right into things that we've been hearing, or let's be honest, getting excited about when it comes to, the spring training and practices, scrimmages, all that fun stuff, all the stuff we love. And all I've been getting excited, Vince, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's really only one thing I'm real excited about, and that's DJ pushing the ball down the field. That's consistently what I'm hearing. Now, listen, do you want him to do it every time? No. You got to take the check down every now and again, man. You got to do the right thing, spread the love. But you know what DJ does? DJ pushes, he really likes pushing the ball down the field. And in both the practice reports and the scrimmage reports, hearing some things, my man really knows how to find an open dude down the field when things break down. So I'm excited about that.
And apparently, there's a lot of people open downfield because the team has put the accelerator down as far as speed. And throughout the spring practice thus far, that's the common refrain that we've been hearing is about this team is fast. This team is noticeably faster, right? This team has speed everywhere. And if you're a quarterback and you're looking to push the ball down the field, your best friend is speed, right?
Yep.
Because you've got a receiver that can, provided the routes are decent enough, right? He's going to separate, and he's going to create an avenue for you to place the ball where you can make hay.
Yes. Now, hey, like we always say, no inside info, no context, no problem. But
Right.
I'm going to start with the scrimmage things because we do have a few quotes from Mike Norvell following today's scrimmage.
We do.
So, put these quarterbacks in. This is not a prediction. Put these quarterbacks based on these quotes that I'm about to read from head coach Mike Norvell in order of what you would think the depth chart would be. So first, DJ. The quote was, "I think DJ has done really well in grasping things. Really good understanding. Now it's just a competition. He needed a day-to-day, like today. Really good moments, some plays he kind of resorted to maybe some not of the cleanest things, being he was kind of reverting back to maybe some poor fundamentals, but that's what it's all about. Here's what was said about Brock. Brock had some good moments and some challenges. That's it." And then Luke.
More confident, though.
Yeah.
More confident.
I thought Luke for the first scrimmage was outstanding. We really gave him the last couple drives. He moved the ball down the field. I saw that as he got into the scrimmage, I thought he did a really nice job of being able to execute. Vince, here's what this is telling me. They are trying to push the message that, hey, it's great that you're here, DJ, but you got to prove it no matter what. Now, do I fully anticipate that DJ ends up being the quarterback come fall? Absolutely. But they don't want to just say, hey, DJ, you're the quarterback. You're the day one starter. They don't want to make him earn it. What I find interesting is Luke got more adoration and more in details, and Brock kind of got like a one-liner. Like we mentioned him, but not really. Am I reading that too deep into that, do you think, Vince?
Yeah, I think you are. And here's why. First of all, the quarterback room is in a much better place, as we go on, right? We have legitimate competition. We really do. DJ is going to be the starter, absent, something going crazy, just because of the experience of it. But, you've got a young guy, Luke, who has all the talent. And what happens a lot of time with younger players is the confidence part, right? You're going from high school to college, and it's a whole different world. Players are faster, the schemes are more difficult. You don't know the playbook. I mean, whatever you want to say, you've gone from being the big fish in the little pond to all of a sudden, I don't know squat. You got to build confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wasn't at the scrimmage. No inside info, no contacts. I wasn't at the scrimmage. And I'm sure that Luke did fine. But what I read into that more so is a coach building the confidence and the foundation of a young player.
Yeah. And listen, when it comes to things like scrimmages and fall camps and spring camps and all this fun stuff, I can promise you one thing, everyone. our channel at Garnet and Old. We will never do the graphic with like an image of Luke and saying possible QB1 and like flames coming out of his eyes and Mike
It'd be
Norvell,
amazing if he was, but
like all that stuff, the clickbait, the grabby, the headlines. Here's what we are. Like I said at the beginning, we're a fan operated and fan supported show. So what we do is we read all the reports from all the sites.
just like you all do.
We read them all, and then we give you the
All of
top
them.
headlines, like the things you need to know, so you don't have to go in deep in all those other areas. If you want to, that's fine. But we give you the, hey, here's the roundabouts, right? Here's about the gist of it, and that's what we're here to discuss. So you'll never hear me and Vince making any grandeur claims or predictions. What you will hear us is give a fan perspective of what we're reading and what we think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible for us to make too many judgment calls yet, right? It's spring, and there are fans that are going to do that. There are fans in our own fan base that are going to do that. You know, for example, Malik Benson and Cam Davis both scored today.
Yep.
In the scrimmage, and I'm sure it was amazing. That doesn't mean anything for the spring necessarily, or for the fall necessarily, right? But it's better than saying they didn't do anything.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, so we're not going to pile on in the positive, and we're not going to pile on in the negative. This is the time. We are in the learning zone right now.
Yeah.
The team is in the learning zone. And by the way, a great book, The Performance Paradox, if you're looking to read a new book, talks about how you cannot be, you shouldn't strive to be in the performance zone all the time. You can only get incrementally better. You have to spend some time in the learning zone. They're in the learning zone right now, and there's going to be some good and some bad. Today apparently was pretty good.
Some people are on the 50-yard line, and some people are ready to punch the ball in. No matter where you are in the learning zone, or sorry, I get sorry for the inside joke for those of you who listen to other shows. Here's what I'll say, Vince. Names you expected to hear on the defense: Daryl Jackson, Marvin Jones Jr. Basically, what Mike Norvell said is the D line. It looks really good. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, because you look at the names and you're like, well, of course they do. They're all gigantic, and they all have experience, and they're going to dominate a lot of teams, especially in the ACC this year. And so that's awesome. Now, he didn't say too much about the secondary or other positions. So again, it's the first scrimmage in spring. But what Mike did seem to insinuate is this is by far the best first spring scrimmage he's had since he's gotten here, as far as people knowing what, where, and how to do things, which is great to hear.
Yeah, it's the program being further established, being further burned in, right? And he talked about the offensive line mixing and matching, which is what they do during this time. If you're looking to know who the starters are right now, you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's more for fall.
That's going to be later. But he did bring out some comments about the linebacking core, and specifically, he said they look to be ahead of schedule. Now that is a great sign.
Yep.
Because that's one of the areas of the team where we know, if you're following the team, we know that is not as deep as other parts of the team. So if they're ahead of schedule, whatever schedule he has in his mind, and I know, he's much more meticulous about this than I am. If he's saying they're ahead of schedule, that's probably a really good sign.
Yeah, he doesn't tend to fluff in spring or fall camp as far as saying things. Like a lot of times, Jimbo, you would feel like he's just making things up. Like he's just saying words about athleticism and bend and all that kind of stuff. And then Willie, within a couple practices, we kind of felt a little worried. But with Mike, you kind of what he sees, he's going to tell you. And when he sees great things, he's going to tell you. And when he sees bad things, he's going to tell you. And he's very honest. And I appreciate the candor from Mike Norvell.
Yeah, the worst thing that happened in the scrimmage today, it was terrible. Terrible thing happened in the scrimmage today. They had ACC officials there.
Hey,
wolfed.
the best thing that happened in this week, Vince, in my opinion, was when they asked Rand and Shannon about the receivers, and he went,
Mhm.
he, he gave a little, behind the tree. I'm rubbing my hands together, looking at you. Yeah, that's what he did, and I like to see it. Hey, one thing I want to let's shout out a few people before we
Yeah, let's
go
do
on.
it because I saw a few come in. We need to shout it out.
All right, Wendy, welcome to the show. Wendy Cosdras, I think I got it right.
Cosdras, yeah, yeah.
Uh, Ed.
You got to read it. You got to read it, man.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. So
Yeah.
Wendy said, I have a lot of channels and live streams and can't watch baseball team on television, literally listening to it on the radio. Old school. I must be doing something wrong. No, you're not doing anything wrong.
No, Wendy,
No.
let me tell you, my greatest, fondest memories of my baseball childhood was listening to Harry Callis call the Phillies games on a transistor radio. And I know that
God, you're
sounds
old.
really, really ancient, but uh, Harry Callis is a revered, legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster. You would recognize his voice from like NFL films and things like that. So let's do it on the radio is kind of the way I grew up.
At first, I read Ed's comment as MN had a big run today. But no, MN said Cam had a big run today. He sure did.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we
he
hear.
sure did.
Young Seminoles, welcome back to the show. We've seen you before, but Norville did say he was more impressed than he thought he would be with the scrimmage. Yeah. Really good sign. Really good sign. I agree with this post right here. Grill Master, good to see you again. The Randy Shannon haters are really going to not like hearing about the linebackers doing so well. Well, listen.
Let me talk about Randy Shannon.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of anger and angst because of the recruiting side of things.
And I think some of the lineage too.
And I get it, right? Because everybody sees the recruiting part, and it's recruiting is like splash. It's like splash flash in your face. Like you get the biggest recruit, 5-star recruit or whatever. But I will say that the linebacking core, at the very least, the talent has been developed, right?
Yep.
And so if you're saying the perfect coach is an ace recruiter and an ace developer, and there aren't a lot of those out there, by the way. Randy Shannon may not be that, but he really seems to know how to develop the squad, and I'm okay with that. We just need to get him the mold and the clay to make that happen. So, yeah, I think you're right, Grill Master. And by the way, Grill Master, what is your grill of choice?
I'll tell you mine.
Well,
the
okay,
Blackstone.
but the Blackstone, right? It's not really a grill; it's more of a griddle.
It's a grill.
But yeah, so the Randy Shannon haters are gonna not like hearing that for sure.
Sporadics, welcome to the show. As always, love you, man.
My brother, thank you, man. Thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate it.
As we get more people in, don't worry, Doug Rohan is still going to be on the show in the next probably 15, 20 minutes. So just stay tuned.
I just got a text from him. It'll be about 7:35, 7:40.
Perfect. So there you go. Set your watches, everyone. Kirk David Tony, continuous fan of the show. What did you say the new name for the Garnet and Gold game was? Go ahead, Vince.
Spring Showcase.
Spring Showcase. And general admission for all on the away sidelines. So that should be interesting. It's a different perspective that I'm used to. Grill Master Row, ACC refs. Ugh, yeah, I agree.
Terrible.
Let's get to some other comments real quick. MN Seminoles, the field looked good. Construction on the construction webcam. 30 minutes, still photos of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't think
Secret
about that.
squirrel. You're trying to get a little bit of info by just watching the webcam of the construction. Yep. That's pretty funny.
So Vince, anything else? Any last thoughts? I know we're going to get a lot more spring stuff in the coming weeks. Any other final thoughts before we switch topics?
Yeah, I mean, I have a banner in here about recruiting, but it's not, we got a packed show tonight. We may not get to a lot of information about that. I just want to suffice it to say that from a recruiting standpoint, it's going well.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of 5 stars.
It's positive. And, there's not a lot of commitments going on right now. So if you are kind of a lackluster recruiting follower, don't be expecting that. I mean, the recruiting calendar does speed up, and you're going to start seeing more recruits commit, into the summertime. There's going to be a huge recruiting weekend in June. And at that point, you might see some fireworks, right? Remember last year?
Oh, I do.
Last year?
Yeah.
So just suffice it to say, the recruiting is going well. I think currently, if you care about these things, we're currently ranked 22nd with 4 commitments right now. I think it's 1 5-star and 3 4-stars. So 22nd. However, from an average star ranking, we're currently 4th. So so there are many different ways to look at this thing. And I wouldn't be worried too much about recruiting at this point, unless you're really a junkie. Then you can really get into it.
Vince, before we get off spring topics, I just want to remind everyone that we, as in Garnet and Old, will be at the spring game.
Spring showcase.
Yeah, we're going to do a pregame and postgame. We're going to be in lot 6. We'll have the tent set up. We'll be doing the show. So come by. You'll see we have a banner we hang up outside of our tent that says Garnet and Old in big letters with a QR code. You can't miss it. Come by, say hello. If you want to say hi, that's great. We'd love to have you. Hey, maybe catch us while we're doing the show, pregame or postgame. We'd love to have all of you. But the real question on everyone's mind is, Vince, are you packing up and leaving, go back to Jacksonville that night, or are you staying? Because we're getting down to the wire here, my brother.
I think it has been determined that we're coming back home. And that's a toughie, brother. But
you're not going to stay and party with Big Papa East?
I do want to. It's still not set in stone yet. So we'll see what happens on that. Keep in mind also, there are a number of tailgates going on. I think Sporadics might be having a tailgate.
Yeah, I might stop by.
So we're probably going to go stop by there. And so there's some good stuff going on there too. Spring showcase is coming up. It's April 20th at 4 p.m. And I just know the weather is going to be beautiful. And we are not going to forget. We are not going to forget the technology in the hotel.
Absolutely. Yours truly will be staying overnight. I'm staying right there in College Town, Vince.
You're staying at Madison Social in the back?
Within a 5-minute walk.
I got you.
So I'm ready to go, Vince. Right after the game, I can walk to my place. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I may have to revisit that whole scenario.
The trick is, Vince, the Airbnb or Verbo route. That's what you do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's coming up, so I need to make a decision.
Kirk David Tony writes, you should go to Madison Social after the spring showcase. If Vince decides to stay, maybe he will. I will.
Yeah, you're putting the pressure on.
Oh, wait. Could this be breaking news? Spear Addicts. Why don't you guys throw yours with ours, and we have a lot of media and a lot of former FSU players?
That's fantastic. I appreciate that, Chris. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. I will
consider invitation accepted.
Yeah, for real. I will get in contact with you, and to consolidate that would make it easier for sure. And it would be great to hang out with you and all the Sporadics peeps.
Maybe even have them on the show.
For sure.
That'd be fun. Perfect. All right, Vince, what do we got next?
We're going to move past recruiting. We already chatted about that, but okay. So some really, really strange things lately, and spent some time on social media, and let me just say that Jim Phillips loves him some basketball. I mean, he really loves him some basketball. So let me see if I can get this going, because this gentleman here who decided to neglect anything related to football at a time when it really mattered in December decides to prattle on and on about basketball. So we're going to give this a shot. Let me know if you can hear this okay. I think you'll be able to.
Can't hear anything, Vince.
No, give me a moment here.
In the country. Okay?
Yeah, start that over.
The first is the history of the league. For 71 years, this is the best basketball conference in the country. Okay? When you look at the metrics. And most recently, if you look at the last 25 years, 22 years, we've won 8 national champions in the last 22 years. We've won 3 of the last 8. 3 different teams. Duke, Carolina, and Virginia. Most recently, we've only gotten 5 teams the last 2 years. So we've had 10 teams. We're 21-10 in those 2 years. Best mark of any conference in the country. in those 2 years, we also have had 3 of the 8 Final Four teams. Okay, so you put that aside, and then you look at this year. So it matters. ACC competition is great. I just explained the history in the last 60 seconds.
You sure did, Jim, about basketball.
Yeah, he really did. He spent a lot of time, too much time, talking about the second most revenue generating sport. The one that it matters, don't get me wrong. I do believe that it matters, but it doesn't matter that much compared to what really matters.
Wouldn't have been great if he had said that on game day.
Where was this guy, Ryan?
You know what? I really believe this, and this is not a conspiracy theorist point of view. I don't believe so anymore, at least. Maybe it would have been considered such a couple months ago, but not anymore. I think they knew legal battles were coming with Florida State and with other teams. And I think they knew that we're not going to actually say anything against Florida State getting in the playoffs, but we're certainly not going to do anything to help them because they're misbehaving. And I think that's clear as day, just based on what you just saw. Because if Jim Phillips really, really wanted to be rah-rah ACC everything, about every conference member evenly, then he would have been on game day, same as Greg Sankey, talking about how great the ACC and hey, Florida State and Clemson have both won national championships in the college football, in the last 20 years. He would have spatted off a bunch of stats, but he didn't do any of that. He didn't care. And that's why, you know what? We're getting out of this horrible conference.
I'm frustrated, obviously, right? And I do understand. And I'm gonna be a little bit objective here. I do understand that. What else can he do? He's a dead man walking.
Yeah.
This conference is dead in its current form, right? So if he shows up on game day or whatever in December and starts talking about the ACC and Florida State, a good portion of the viewership is not going to buy that. But it doesn't matter.
Right.
He still should have done it.
Right.
Because that's what a leader of a conference does.
Yep.
So you're going to wait until, basketball season and then, have like a minute and a half there where Greg Sankey had like 15 minutes in December. We all know the incestuous relationship between ESPN and the Southeastern Conference. We get it. But it doesn't mean you got to just take it.
Right. And
he's just taking it. And that's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, I like what Douglas says. He's going to be filing for unemployment soon.
Yeah.
Or he's going all in on talking about being a basketball conference, so when the football members leave,
do it.
He can get some, leftovers from other, try to make deals and keep this a basketball conference. I think he believes his best way to stay ACC commissioner and maybe have some form of conference is to focus on basketball. So maybe this is a self-preservation kind of motivational talk that he gave, in front of the nation just now.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. Maybe he's sly like a fox, right? Where he understands that when this all settles out, the ACC is going to be a basketball conference. And so he's laying the groundwork for that. If he's doing that, then more power to him. Just freedom. Let us go. Let's just get on with it.
Yeah. Hey, Vince, now we have officially Doug Rohan in backstage right now, but Doug, I don't know if Doug knows this yet, so we're not going to bring him in this second. Doug, backstage, before we bring you on, we got a special surprise for you because we came up with a segment for Doug, named it and everything, and Vince is going to introduce it in the most fun way possible. We actually have Vince put together a little animation from now on to introduce Doug Rohan. So are you ready, Vince?
I have terrible skills, but here it goes.
Well done,
It's
Vince.
really, really bad.
We had to do something. We had to do something funny. Without further ado, let's bring him in.
I love it. I've never had my own intro. That's fantastic.
That's your walk-up music, brother.
Little 70s boogie.
That's right. We've been talking about this for a while, and we're really excited to debut Rohan on the Record, which is a weekly segment for Doug to join the show here and be just part and parcel of the whole Garnet and Old thing. But I also, if you don't mind, Doug, I want to give a shout out to my daughter who came up with the name. So she loves the fact that that was the name that you chose, and I just want to give her a shout out.
Of course.
Same daughter? Is it the same daughter that came up with the name of our show in general?
Yes. And by the way, she is a public relations major at Georgia Southern.
There you go. Putting those skills to use.
That's right. That's right. Well, Doug, here we are.
Nothing to talk. Nothing going on.
And this is every time we get together, there's always something new. And so this is your segment. So normally we just ask you questions, but I think it'd be the way we should do this. We're kind of on the fly here. Tell everybody where we are, run this whole deal.
I think that's always a great place to start because the information is coming so quick. It's great to refocus and look back at where we are. First off, we talked last week after coming out of the hearing in North Carolina. So that was the Mecklenburg County Business Court hearing all of the ACC FSU pleadings as they are filed in North Carolina. We have coming up April 9th, the Leon County hearing to deal with all of the pleadings that have been filed in Florida between the ACC and FSU. Now, what's important is that last night, FSU filed a response to the ACC's motion to stay discovery. So with all the things going on, let's focus in on what's going on specifically. This is FSU responding on what was supposed to be a very narrow issue of should the ACC be able to not respond to the documents that are requested, to not respond to the interrogatories that are requested, to slow play the discovery. And FSU, I think, put together their best pleading paperwork that they've done to date. And they really did a good job of, while focusing on that issue, to really hammer home a bunch of their points about their main case in chief.
That's so I've read through a lot of it. And I've seen you I saw you on another show today, did Double Fries. And so you brought up a lot of interesting points about what was in that document. The main crux of it, though, overall overarching, is you're not going to keep hiding stuff from us, right? You're not going to keep hiding stuff from not just us, but from the court system. And they were not nice about it, as nice as you can be in a document, right? But talk about that.
So the ACC has been holding everything real close to the vest. The ESPN agreement, the grant of rights, it hasn't been provided. And so in the North Carolina case, this is really where the thread started beginning to get pulled on this issue. The FSU lawyers made it a very good point because in North Carolina, they're trying to seal their records and seal the agreement. Well, the FSU attorney's point is, we, as counsel for Florida State and the Board of Trustees, have an obligation under the Sunshine Laws for publication of these documents. We, as a party, can't agree that you can send us, and this happens in litigation all the time, you can't send us a complete copy, you can't send the judge a complete copy, but then only release to the public a portion. We as officers, we as representatives of the Florida State Board of Trustees are mandated under the Sunshine Laws to make everything public. So that's where the interest comes in the ESPN pleadings in North Carolina and why they're fighting so hard to go ahead and move forward with this discovery. Now, there's a second point to that, which is, okay, even if we're going to play this close to the vest and we're not going to release it, you still have to release a privilege log. When you redact all those portions of the document, you still get to tell the judge what's in there and the other party what's in there before those publications are made. However, Florida State's point is, in the filing, we can't trust the ACC. And I don't know how long you want to go on the segment, how in detailed.
We got time, brother.
But the point is, FSU laid out 3 very clear examples on how when the ACC says this is what the documents say, the reality is that the document said something different. So FSU is hammering this trust issue and really pushing on the ACC as a truth sayer of what these documents are saying.
Yeah, I mean, that was initially in the initial paragraph. I said the whole purpose of this is to get to the truth. The whole purpose is to get to the truth and to be transparent. And the things that they're providing are not even necessarily like the actual text. It's like abbreviations of the text, even sometimes. Can you talk more about what is it? They were talking about commercially reasonable effort.
You are such a good host. You're hitting the bullet points exactly right. That's the first place that if you looked at the ESPN argument and more importantly, the ACC argument in North Carolina, they made a big deal about this and the judge pushed back hard. The ACC is trying to say, okay, look, if you want to get into a fight about whether or not we had the authority to commence this litigation, the ESPN agreement that we signed mandates that we take all commercially reasonable efforts to protect ESPN's interest. The judge in North Carolina specifically emailed both parties and said, okay, I understand what you're saying, but where in the contract, because it was redacted, where in the contract do you define commercially reasonable efforts? So the ACC attorney, Kumi, sent that over to the judge, and that was included as an exhibit to this Florida filing now. The reason why that was important is because that commercially reasonable effort was defined as mandating that the ACC do step in anytime that there is a question about the exclusivity of the broadcast rights or any property that the ESPN has under this agreement. The ACC is obligated to take a stand and make sure that those rights are protected. But what that reasonable effort is not engaging attorneys, not expending attorneys' fees, not suing a member. Right. It's simply writing cease and desist letters. So every time you put something on YouTube with an ESPN clip on it that you don't attribute to ESPN, the ACC has to send you a cease and desist letter. That's commercially reasonable efforts. Filing a declaratory judgment action against your member institution is not commercially reasonable. And the judge made a point of that in North Carolina. So now FSU is really emphasizing, Leon Judge, this is why you can't trust the ACC in what they say. They say they had commercially reasonable effort clause mandating them suing, when in fact, once we look at what that clause said, they didn't have anywhere near that authority.
I wonder what's going on behind closed doors sometimes, because these lawyers are going around, we really got nothing. We could take this paragraph and maybe kind of tweak it and twist it to be maybe what the reason why we did this or that. But, and I'm nobody, but I read that, I kind of get the same vibe. It's like, we're kind of grasping at straws here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you, Doug, in reading all of this, what you guys already discussed, what would you anticipate the ACC's counter to what this would say would be? Like, do you anticipate they would file another motion, right? Would they, or how does this work next?
So I actually don't think we're going to hear something else. If we did, it would have to be tomorrow before 5 p.m. It is very common, and I can't speak to the Florida jurisdiction. This is one of the limitations of my experience, but it's generally accepted principle that you don't file anything more than 10 days or less than 10 days before a hearing. You have to give both parties the chance to prepare and get ready for the hearing. So these last minute filings the day before, 2 days before, could derail everything. It's not fair. It doesn't give both parties a chance. Now, the way you cure that is to move back the hearing. But But I don't think that that's what's going to happen in such a high profile case like this. I think unless the Leon judge does what the Mecklenburg judge did, which is ask for that sir reply or additional response of some kind, I think this is the last that we're going to see of the pleadings before the hearing on April 9th.
Hey, Doug, you actually have a fan. I'm going to bring in a little comment here. Doug gave $5 and he said, hey, they're acting like it's a military secret. Good representation, but Big Facts Rohan. I love the name. That's a good name for you.
Another question for you, Doug. So at the conclusion of the hearing in Mecklenburg County last week, they had kind of a gentleman's agreement about, do we need to put anything formal in place about XYZ? Was that specifically about the two sides moving toward discovery?
That's exactly right. Now, we talked about this in your last video. FSU and the ACC are playing very nice in Mecklenburg with respect to that. They've agreed jointly not to expend the effort in responding to discovery, waiting for Judge Bledsoe to rule on that motion to stay or motion dismiss. But Florida State is taking a much more aggressive approach here in Leon County, and they're using exactly what was going on in Mecklenburg as the basis for why they can't play nice allegedly here. Now, this is about pressure tactics. This is about putting the ACC on the defensive so they don't feel comfortable with what's going on. But at the end of the day, that's their choice. That's their strategic decision. And the fact that they are getting along in North Carolina and do have a handshake agreement, all they were telling the judge is, Judge, we don't need you to issue an order. We know we're going to not exchange discovery for the time being in North Carolina, but that isn't applying here in Leon County.
Yeah, that's kind of the thought I had, is like whatever they had agreement for in Charlotte, like that agreement is not happening in Florida right now. It's like they're moving forward and they are doing it in an aggressive manner. And they are calling them on the fact, I think they called it hide the ball. Right. Like they're playing hide the ball, which, again, I know you love this.
Yeah.
But for people that never read these things, to see that kind of sticking it to you within the actual legal documents is great. Another word that, and I know Ira Schafel from War Chant mentioned this earlier today.
On it too.
He made a comment about a word he had never heard before. I knew that word.
Hey,
I knew that. Yes, I knew that word because my aunt is a longtime English teacher from way back, and I knew the term legerdemain, and it's French, so you have to legerdemain, sleight of hand, trickiness, deceit. So what this whole thing is about is like driving the point home about you cannot trust not only what the ACC is telling you, but also what they're giving you. Because they're not giving you all of it. They're only giving you the bits and pieces, and maybe sometimes paraphrased to kind of support what they're doing.
And the second example that they cited in their brief was this idea of an injury. In fact, the judge in North Carolina brought this up. When you filed your complaint in North Carolina, where was the harm? Where was the injury? There had not been a Board of Trustees meeting. Sure, there was an intention. You can absolutely read into everything FSU is doing as an intention to breach. But in law, in contracts law, there's either a breach or not a breach. There's no such thing as an intention to breach.
Right.
And that
either you did or you didn't.
Right. That was the second thing that they were pointing out. The ACC has alleged harm, and you can't trust them because they did so without actual harm having taken place.
And I think it really goes to the point of what we've known for a long time, which is it's almost like when you go into a staff meeting and you're a manager and it's been a rough month for your team, so you bring all the stats and figures that make your team look really good. Like you bring half the information, you're like, hey, this stuff's great. We're on the up and up. It's all good. And then when the person's like, well, what about this? And they bring up another stat and you're like, yeah, hey, why? We don't want to talk about that. Let's focus, as
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
As Ja Rule on the Fire Festival once said, we're a problem-solving company, not a problem-making company. So, it reminds me of that. It just reeks of let's show you what we want you to see, and don't worry about the other stuff. It's fine. Trust us, right? What do you think? Do you think? And I know you're not you've gone online, you've said it up in public. You're not going to be the Clemson case expert, But would you expect that Clemson would now hammer this point home as well?
Yeah, I mean, I do have, the third bullet point later on, grand finale. We'll save that for later. There was some good stuff in the Clemson complaint. I really don't know what Clemson is going to do other than likely work very close with FSU on all of these issues. There's no question that that both parties have the same goal in mind, that they're working together, that they're feeding off of each other. And so I would wholly expect Clemson to see what works and what sticks. I'm sure they have broken down the hearing video from North Carolina, frame by frame, almost Zapruder the film, to make sure that they understand what judge, especially because it's the same judge.
Yep.
So now when they get a chance to talk to Judge Bledsoe on the Clemson complaint, they already have a sneak peek into what his issues with the ACC are.
Quick break here. 3 things. First of all, the Noles are leading right now against Louisville. I believe this is when Wendy's saying grand slam. We're hitting grand slams all the time, it seems like. So good. I think they're up. Are they up 6-2 right now, I believe?
Because it was sounding bad when I was listening to it on the way in.
Yeah. Second thing to bring up is that don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you're in the chat. Put this in the chat if you haven't already done so. We're going to be giving away a copy of College Football 25 at the end of the show tonight. So don't forget to do that. And then there was a third thing, and I don't remember what it is. So we're going to go on.
We're off on a tangent now, Vince.
We're off on a little tangent. I think it was the baseball part.
Yeah.
So we're good. We're good. All right. So we talked about commercially reasonable effort. We talked a little bit about the Clemson thing, and I want to. I had a tough time understanding the whole concept around are our rights till 2036, or are the ACC's rights till 2030? Can you break that down for us, because it's nuanced. Like the wording is. It's tough to understand what they're getting at there.
I really, really enjoyed today kind of digging into this because I've been so busy that I hadn't had a chance to pay attention. I'd heard a few people talk about Clemson's argument kind of pivoting a little bit to this issue, but I hadn't taken the time to really digest it. And once I got a chance to read specifically what they were talking about, I could appreciate the nuance and truthfully the validity to Clemson's argument. We've all heard and we've all listened to the phrase, we've all read the phrase, the ACC irrevocably owns the media rights to games played through 2036. So the first part is that we had just all heard the irrevocably and the through 2036. That's where the ironclad aspect of the grant of rights stemmed from. But there's 2 parts to that sentence that get overlooked. The ACC irrevocably owns the media rights to games played through 2036, even if that member ceases to be a member of the conference. So the first part of the word that's been overlooked, and I love being an English major and a lawyer, is games played. Games played in past tense through 2036, even if that member ceases to be a member of the conference. What they're talking about is all those instant classics that ESPN puts up. What they're talking about is those montages of the championship team as they're building towards their crescendo of their national championship season.
Versus will play.
Forever and perpetuity, every game that's played on ESPN while we're a member of the ACC belongs irrevocably to ESPN. That's what is irrevocable. We can't go and leave for the Big Ten and then say we want all of our games that were historically played on ESPN to be rebroadcast on Fox. That's where there has to be certainty in the contract. ESPN has to know that they own irrevocably the rights to those games that have been played. And Clemson did a great job of pointing this out. It's Exhibit F if anybody gets to the documents and wants to start reading through it. I, for the first time, had a chance to digest that this morning, and they bring up the point. Okay, everybody's pissed at FSU in the conference right now. They could have a board meeting tomorrow and vote us off the island. They could kick us out of the ACC. Are you meaning to tell me that you still have the right to every game FSU plays through 2036 after you kicked us out of this conference? Absolutely not. And that's where the crux of the argument comes in. If you don't let us play in the ACC, you can't have the rights to all of our media rights through 2036. Now, admittedly, there's a little bit of a stretch between kicking us out and letting us out,
right,
but the same principle applies. What you're saying is once we're out, Clemson is saying once we're out of the ACC, you no longer have the rights to our future games. You no longer have the right to our future projections.
And the dog agrees.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog agrees.
Oh, I have to ask, Doug, what kind of dog do you have?
I've got two. I've got a Yorkie and some kind of Chihuahua Schnauzer mix, and both of them are for sale. You can have them. They poop and pee in my house with great regularity, despite being trained not to do so. And if anybody wants two dogs, you're welcome to have them.
I'm feeling that right now. My dog is 13. He's a retriever mutt. He's a cute dog, but he is getting up. He's getting up there, and he's having some trouble getting to the grass sometimes.
Oh, this isn't age. This is just spite. They just don't like being left alone, and they let us know they don't like being left alone.
Right. That's great. So, you said you read through it and you started to see the validity of the things that people were saying. It's words. It's words that are put together, and how you interpret it is really, or how the judge interprets it, is going to be really how this goes.
Vince, Doug, wouldn't it be fantastic is if the very words that made this thing ironclad ended up being the reason of its undoing? Wouldn't that, we would all just love it, be tickled to death, right?
That's how contract law works. And that's what, not to derail it. If you want to have another point, I'll let you make it, but to direct you to the next issue.
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
This is, again, remember, this is about discovery. This is about the ACC saying, trust us. We're telling you what the words are. And so, again, FSU hammers home the filings where the ACC says on the confidentiality issue, FSU is obligated to keep this agreement private. They chose not to. We want them to be in trouble for it. Judge Bledsoe hammered this point in the hearing in North Carolina. You're leaving out the subject to the law applicable of each such conference member. So Florida state sunshine laws are incredibly broad, and you choose to keep ignoring that part when you talk about confidentiality. That's why FSU is saying these documents have to be released, because every time the ACC says this is what the document means, the truth is there's an asterisk to it that actually means almost the exact opposite.
And if they weren't going to allow those documents to be available in states that require it, why even do business in that state?
Right.
Because eventually you're going to get called to the mat on it if someone has the gumption to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
that's where I think ESPN still is pulling the strings behind the scene. They could be the ones that say, look, the risk is not worth it. We're cutting you off. You need to make this go away real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to have a question for Doug, super chat that if you don't mind. Because there's a lot of people here in the chat, we want to make sure we get those in. However, we are going to pull in one from partner in crime here, Sporadics Media. Funniest part is ESPN doesn't want or need the ACC anymore. Maybe it was me, but I felt like ESPN separated themselves from the ACC. Was that just me?
I think ESPN is trying to save face because as a business entity, they don't want to look like they're manipulating, but they certainly have the means to make this problem go away. If they wanted to be altruistic, if they wanted to fix things, they absolutely could by signing a $3 billion contract to broadcast ACC games for the next 10 years. But they're not doing that. And look, let me take off the FSU homer hat. The ACC is not the quality property that the SEC is. Nobody should be deluding themselves to think that. However, we're not a full tier below. We're even. And in fact, this year there was evidence if Phillips wanted to get on game day, the day of the college football playoff selection show, and argue valid points on why this was a down SEC year and why this was a good ACC year, there was data to support that. He would not have been a laughingstock. But absolutely, the 4th and 5th best SEC team is better than the 4th and 5th best SEC team, or other way around. SEC team.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is better than Wake Forest.
Boston College.
Boston College. It cannot be debated. I concede that point. But that's the problem. The ACC's job is to argue in favor of why that is true. They're supposed to be the ones, like your clip from the basketball show, as to why the historicity shows, there might be this bias of the SEC being better, but let me explain to you why that's bias and the ACC really is good. That should have been what he's parroting for the last 5 years. Instead, what he was doing was extending the ESPN material media rights without a vote from the members, and now trying to argue I didn't extend material media rights. That's another example of how this pleading brilliantly used something as simple as a question about whether or not to start or stop discovery to really hammer home the points. The document that Jim Phillips is referring to is literally titled Amendment to Amend and Restate Multimedia Agreements between ESPN and ACC. How is that not a material media right?
Right.
It's unbelievable. This relationship is, you remember Wayne's World?
Absolutely.
Remember that movie where what was his girlfriend's name that was just the hanger-on? Was it like Stacy or something like that? Where Wayne and Stacy's just completely, enamored with him, but he's treating her like complete mess. But she continues to hang on. This is what Jim Phillips is doing with that. He's saying, yeah, sure, take all the time you want. We're just going to wait here in the background, and whatever you give us is okay with us. We're not going to fight for anything. We have no self-respect.
Yeah. Right.
So to me, that's the equivalent.
Yep. Well, Doug, I know you said a bunch tonight. I mean, it's unbelievable, in my opinion, how they want to have their cake and eat it too in the ACC. They want to project, we do the right thing, we're on the up and up, we're always doing the right thing. But then they're like, and look what we have this to show you. And then anytime you're like, what about this? They say, oh, hey, that's not nice. Don't go there. That's not a good thing to do. So you're the guy that breaks it down. Do you have any other points that the people need to know on what's next?
The people.
I don't have more to take away from this filing. I don't have more to take away from the Clemson lawsuit at this time. I feel very good about where the litigation stands. Now, again, we have this order coming out from the Mecklenburg County's business court. If I were to guess, if I was a betting man, I'd put the over-under at Thursday, which unfortunately for me means I am out in the middle of the woods. The good news for you is that if I can find a signal, it's the night of your show.
Yep.
So you guys might be breaking news. If they file it at 5, it seems to take a couple hours to trickle out. It may be on your show next week, which I will endeavor to return for. But I would suspect the order on the North Carolina case comes out Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday. That is just on the issue of a stay or dismissal. A dismissal is unlikely. A stay is unlikely. Let me take that back. If there is a dismissal, it's a victory, but it's a hollow victory. It's a limited victory because the ACC can just come back and refile. So it will be a dismissal without prejudice. It will not be a determination of the facts of the case. Yep. It's just going to delay things a little bit. I'm most curious about what happens in Florida. And I will say up front, if there's any other Florida attorneys listening, you're not stepping on my toes. Go and live tweet, live stream the hearing. I cannot be there. I cannot duplicate my efforts from North Carolina. So somebody needs to be there observing and interpreting that experience.
Yep.
I suspect home cooking. I suspect a positive outcome. But then we would possibly be dealing with competing cases in 2 different states.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this. I've talked to a dozen attorneys who do practice this type of law and this type of complexity, and they don't have consensus on what's going to happen next. The most common theory is FSU moves forward in Leon County. The ACC moves forward in Raleigh or in Charlotte, North Carolina. Both cases removed to federal court, but they're not even the same federal court. We've got the 4th Circuit in North Carolina, the 11th Circuit in Florida. Hopefully those 2 courts can come together and decide. But what happens if they remain in opposition? Do we then go to the Supreme Court to talk about a grant of rights decision on whether or not this should be heard in North Carolina or Florida? It seems far-fetched, but it also seems like there's a degree of inevitability.
Yeah.
The question is, can the parties reach an agreement before then? And that's where this filing today gives me a lot of courage, because ACC has some strong arguments, and the arguments aren't solely about the grant of rights. They're coming after the exit fee too. Clemson did a great job in their brief. Neither side is saying, okay, we're just resigned to pay the $120 million. The question is, how much more valuable are the grant of rights above the $120 million? No. FSU and Clemson are saying, screw you on the $120 million.
Yeah.
When we signed this, that was worth $40 million. Just because the ACC has inflated their budget over and over again, that's not what we agreed to. Now, it's what they agreed to. They're the ones that picked a multiplier as opposed to a base sum. But if a judge in either jurisdiction agrees that this is a penalty, that this is a restraint on trade, that's where the victory is.
Yep.
So again, I go back to the likely outcome is an agreement after August 15th, because the ACC wants another year from their 2 cash cows. But after August 15th and before we kick off in Ireland, there's a number agreed to, and I'm starting to feel better about it maybe being closer to 80 or 100 million. We'll see. Yeah. I don't know.
Final question for you. There was a statement in one of the paragraphs about holding on to Florida State's rights for another dozen years. Like, it specifically says dozen years because it's 2024 to 2036. Do you think that's just a round number and they did it, or do they in their mind go, we're out of here 2024, so you're not going to hold our rights for another 12 years?
I do think words matter. I do think words are designed to elicit a response from the listener. They're using as many tools at their disposal to try to find something that resonates with the judge. A dozen years is a great way to refocus and reshape how long and how interminable, it's your new SAT word, that period of time is. You're really telling me that a 2016 agreement, we're in 2024, a 2016 agreement still has a dozen years left on it? That's what they're trying to convey in the filing.
I got it. Well, that's a lot, Doug. What are your plans now, Doug?
So today is my last day of work. I won't be tweeting very much. I won't be paying attention. I assume my phone is going to blow up if there is an order that's issued, but I'm going to be in the woods of High Springs after I catch the Friday night and Saturday Louisville baseball games. We're going to be driving down to Tallahassee. If any of you desire to purchase a beer for me at Dick Hauser Stadium, I won't turn you down, and I have plenty of friends who would like one as well. But yeah, I'll be in Dick Hauser in Section B and the Animals of Section B for the Friday night game, and then we'll be heading to my sister's who lives in Tallahassee for Easter. And then we've got some property in High Springs. So we're going to spend a week out in the woods without cell phones, without cell signal, bonfires, bourbon, playing some big games, board games with the family. So yeah, this is our spring break and we're looking forward to it.
Nice.
And of course, Judge Bledsoe is going to issue his order this week.
I got to find signal, honey. I got to find signal.
There's a public library in town. I'll drive to the public library to get Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Right. Well, the baseball team's still up 6-3 right now, so that's a good sign.
What a bounce back win against the Gators.
Yeah. Yes, I have that on the list, and I wanted to talk to you about it. So if you want to get off the legal thing for a little bit?
My first passion, if you tell me I can only watch baseball or football and I have to pick one, I'm picking baseball.
So, going back to the Clemson series, as tough as that was to watch, because they had two of those games kind of in the bag. But the bullpen kind of did what they did, right? And it wasn't just like a couple of pitches, right? It wasn't even something significant.
4 pitches.
But it happened. But it happened.
4 pitches were the difference between us winning the series and us getting swept.
But then we go and play the Gators. I didn't get to go to the game here. They went and played the Gators here in Jacksonville.
Where is your commitment, Vince? Where is your commitment?
Agreed. I've shamed me. I've been shamed already on this show. But they run ruled him. So talk about that, Doug. How did that make your heart feel?
I was ecstatic. Because I knew I was going to the Louisville series. I didn't want us going into the Louisville series with a 3-win, 4-win, 5-win, or 4-loss, 5-loss streak. Look, baseball is an emotional and psychological game. That's one of the reasons why I love it. Every pitch, you don't know what's going to happen next. In football, there's a plan. There is a build up. You have to string together a whole bunch of things to score a touchdown. Baseball is a pure sport because every pitch is what's next. You need to get those 27 outs. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the run rule, but this particular week it worked out in our favor.
That's right.
The reality is that baseball is streaky. We weren't going to go undefeated. We weren't going to win 54 games. If we were going to lose a series, let's lose a series to the best baseball team in the country. Right. And let's lose our series to the best baseball team in the country that we're going to face again, likely in the ACC championship.
That's all right.
If I'll give Clemson all the regular season wins, as long as we get the postseason wins.
Douglas, better hope there isn't a series selection committee.
Fortunately, there is, but they pick 64 teams. I'd like to think that if you have a chance to win the championship, you're one of the 64 teams.
Jim Phillips will be too busy stumping for the field hockey team,
right? Lacrosse,
rather than baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So enjoy your weekend and your week, and if you want to stick around, you're absolutely welcome to.
I'm going to go get some pizza. I'm hungry for
dinner.
There you go. We all finish up strong. Thank you very much for my intro. I'm going to show that to my wife, and I really appreciate it.
Garnet and Old listeners, watchers, viewers, Doug Rohan Law of Atlanta, Georgia. Rohan on the record, and we're with us every week, I guess, depending on next week's cell signal.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much
Doug.
for joining,
Doug. Guys.
Real quick, Vince, I wanna pimp something for a friend of the show, Spear Addicts. Hey, he has his show coming up at 8:30.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we're gonna wrap things up here because we want, if you are listening to this show right now and you are not gonna go watch Spear Addicts show after this, what are you doing? It's awesome.
You can have the baseball game on one screen and you can watch Chris and Spear Addicts on the other screen. It's doable. We live in a great time where you can do that. Last call now for everyone to get the hashtag into the chat if you haven't already done so. We're looking for this hashtag 1000GNO. We are about to roll the dice here and figure out who our next winner is going to be for the free copy of College Football 25, courtesy of one Big Papa East.
Your friend, Big Papa East.
Your friend, Big Papa East. See if there's any last minute things here while people are putting that hashtag in the chat.
Last
Yeah,
second
Doak
thing
for sale.
me. Yeah, go ahead, Vince. I was going to bring it up.
Doak for sale. Right. There is a collectible site that the Battle's End got involved with to basically sell off pieces of the stadium, and goes toward NIL. So, not only are you going to buy this fancy bleacher seat, which I hated anyway, I'm not going to buy that because it was terrible on the buttocks. But look at this brick here. That's a possibility, right? A brick from Doak Campbell in a display case. And so the Battle's End put that together. So Doak is currently for sale, or at least portions of Doak are for sale. So yeah, just want to make sure we got that in.
I have something else, Vince.
Yeah.
This is just a minor thing. My company is closed for Good Friday, so I'm off tomorrow. How about that?
Oh, well, you should go up to watch the baseball team.
I should, Vince. All right, are we ready? Are we ready to give away a copy of EA Sports College Football 25?
Yeah, let's give this a try, because last time I forgot to do this, but I want to do it for this show where I'm actually sharing the screen that does the giveaway.
So people know it's on the up and up.
This is on the up and up. So this is the StreamYard giveaway tool. See what we got here. This is what we're looking for. Hashtag 1000GNO. You should have it in the comment sections. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Draw. And our winner is Kenneth Reese.
Kenneth Reese is the big winner of this evening's drawing for the College Football 25 game, courtesy of Big Papa East. Kenneth, Ryan, why don't you tell him what he needs to do, because the game's not out yet.
Yeah. So Kenneth, what you want to do is email us at garnetandold@gmail.com. That's garnetandold@gmail.com. And what you want to do is whether by screenshot or by showing us your log, some piece of information, let us know it's you, so we're not just wondering, hey, who is this person? Once we have that information, I will reply to that by sometime tomorrow, and I will ask for a few bits of information. I'll ask for your actual name and address, and how you would what you would like your game to be. Would you like it to be physical, digital, and then would you like it to be PlayStation or Xbox? And we'll work that out. So again, Kenneth Reese, congratulations on winning a copy of EA Sports College Football. Email us at garnetandold@gmail.com, and I will reply to you by tomorrow. So, man, thank you so much for being part of the show. It's been a good one.
It has been a good one. Remember, we hit the 1,000 mark, but we're trying to get to 2,000. You never end. It's the climb. Climb. We're trying to get to 2,000. We get to 2,000 by the time the game comes out. There's going to be another copy of the game and a console of your choice. So how do you do that? Share this out. Like and subscribe and share it out. Follow at Garnet and Old on X. Follow at Big Papa East. Follow at BC No. Follow Rohan Law PC if you're not already doing that. That's how we're going to get.
Yep.
We're going to get to give this away, right? So that's how that's going to happen.
And go watch Spear Addicts right after you're done here. Going live in 10 minutes.
Through ESPN Eternally. I'm going to be on the Spear Addicts show. We're not going to be on the show. I'm going to comment in the show there. So I'm going to go watch him as well. He does great work. And then final thought before we close this out. One of the directors of the Marching Chiefs is going to be a new assistant professor of music and director of bands at Stetson University. His name is Chandler Wilson. He's a fantastic musician, fantastic director. So I want to congratulate him on this new position, becoming the director of bands at Stetson. I know some of the Chiefs, or all the Chiefs, really are close to him, and it's tough for them to see him go. But congratulations, brother, and well done. Send Chiefs all the damn time.
Hey, man, Stetson still undefeated in football.
Correct.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. We will see you guys next week, 7 o'clock. As always on Thursday, we should have some court case updates, and we'll have Doug back on the show. But you guys have a great rest of your night. Garnet and Old, no inside info, no contacts, no problem. Go Noles.
Go Noles.